What's up everyone on YouTube? It's InDriver KG, and today we're going to give you an update on how the AEM kit has been. And if you choose on buying it, I'm going to let you know if you should or if you shouldn't, what things to look out for and what things you need to keep in mind when you have an AEM kit. So as you guys know, I've had my AEM kit on this 2022 Elantra, and I've had it located. The tank is located back here. Sorry about the mess. This is I work out of this car and I use this every day in my daily driver, but that's my tank back there. You can't tell how much is in it right now, but I have about half in there. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this is when you have an AEM kit and you have the 1 gallon tank that it comes with, you're going to have to refill, I would say once, depending on how much boost you're running, how many times you're stepping on it, at least twice every month, or at least once a month. I would say that's around how much I was doing. So let me show you something. All right, so if we go in here, you see that is my controller. I have it started at 8 psi and it fully sprays at about 15. Now every car is going to be different, so don't think that you're going to put your AEM kit on your car and do the same thing. You have to find out by your tuner what psi you should start it and what psi it should start fully spraying at. Now another thing is you're going to want to add like 2 or 3 things to your AEM kit. So when you buy it online, it's going to come with the tank, the controller, the pump, and all the electrical wires you need along with the nozzle. Now, is that good enough to run it? Yes, but there's some things you're going to want so you have no issues coming up. The first thing is, you see this thing right here? That's the solenoid. You have to buy that separately. They range from anywhere between 60 and 80 bucks, maybe 90. I'm not sure what they go for right now. I'm going to check and then I'm going to leave a link, or I'm just going to leave the price. But this is something that you absolutely need when you buy an AEM kit. So what this does is, anytime you step on the gas and your meth starts flowing through, it's going to flow through. That's what it's supposed to do. Now the issue is when you stop and you don't want any meth flowing through, and you're just going, say, just slight throttle, or you're at a stoplight, what's going to happen is a possibility, depending on how your tank is mounted and if it's downward or not, and if your lines are downward or not, it can possibly leak meth into your intake system or wherever you have it set up at. So that can cause issues, and that can ultimately hydrolock flooding your engine. So what you want to do is have that solenoid, because that solenoid is going to stop it. So if the pump is not actually programmed to pump at that specific psi, which means if you're at a stoplight or you're just at idle or anything like that, that solenoid is going to stop it from flowing through. And that's a great thing. That's going to really just make sure everything is smooth coming on with your AEM kit. Next, you're going to want a filter. So the filter, I have it located in the back and it's kind of hidden. It's under my trunk, but the filter should go at least, I would say, anywhere between 6 inches and about 2 feet away from your tank. So what that's going to do, if you got any settlements, anything that fell into your tank or anything like that, it just makes sure the filter keeps it from moving through wherever you have it routed at. You don't want any issues or anything, any dirt and debris getting through your kit going into your engine. It's all about trying to keep your engine safe. So you might add, how long has it been on the car? It's been on the car about a year. And how has it been? It's been great. Now, have there been some issues that I ran into? Absolutely. So the main issue with the AEM kit is the nozzle. The first time my nozzle got plugged up, I had no idea. I was running a tune that requires the meth to run through. So what happens is your car ends up leaning out because it's not getting the proper amount of fuel. If you have a tune for it, that means it's going to require a little more octane, because what meth does, it gives you more octane. It's basically just a shot of some octane into already what you have. So if you have 93, it's going to bump you up to about 100, depending on what mixture you run. I personally was running a 50-50 at the time, so it wasn't that crazy. It wasn't something that was going to completely damage the car, but I had no idea the meth wasn't running, and it was all because of the nozzle got clogged up. But one issue that I had, I did not have a filter at first. I brought the AEM kit, I just threw the AEM kit on, and I brought the solenoid. I thought I was fine, but you do, and I highly recommend that you have filter on, because some pieces of debris got up in the nozzle and clogged it up. Now, luckily it got caught by the nozzle in the filter, in the small filter that's located inside the nozzle, but unfortunately it just was not working out, and I was running a lot of cars not having meth, and at the time I had no idea and was wondering why the car was feeling just a tad bit sluggish. So you always want to keep that in mind. Make sure you have all the components you need. Altogether, the kit is going to cost you about, I would say with everything, about $600 to $700 with everything that you need, maybe $800. But I highly recommend you upgrade your lines to the braided lines. Now, since I had it, I don't actually go through that much meth. I go out running a lot, and I am hard on my car. Like, I drive this car, it's meant to have fun with. And honestly, I have a 5-gallon tank. I upgraded that, I would say about 3 or 4 months after I had the 1 gallon that it comes with, the 1.1, but that just wasn't enough. With the 5-gallon, however, I am going about, I would say I go through the 5 gallons in about 4 months, 4 to 5 months, if that. So it all depends on your driving. If you're at the track and you say you're on the track, not the drag strip, but a road course, you're going to be using a bit more meth than I do, because I'm only going at little like 30-second spurts at a time. You got to think about it. A 1 gallon is good for about 10 to 12 minutes of full run time. So you got to think about it. If I'm out running and I'm doing like a quick drag race or something like that, that's going to be anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds of that. So I might have 24 runs out of that 1 gallon tank, sometimes more, sometimes less. When you got the 5 gallon, I mean, honestly, you're going to forget that you even need to fill up. And the good thing is that you have the little light here that shows you if you're coming up on that 25% left. So I haven't actually gotten to that mark yet. And I've had it on the 5 gallons for about 6 months, 7 months. So I haven't ran into any issues with that. But like I said, the number one issue is the nozzle. So some people change to the Snow Performance nozzle, but we're not talking about that right now. I still have the regular AEM 2.0 nozzle, and it's been fine. Have I had any other issues with it? Yes. So recently I went up and I bumped my meth count up to about a 80-20 mixture. So the car that I have is an Elantra N, and I did have a pretty aggressive tune that required a bit more octane and a bit more meth. So what that means is I had to have a higher grade, a higher mix of methanol. So I went up to a 80-20 mixture. So as I started mixing that and throwing that in the tank, I was driving around and noticed that my light was blinking, indicating that I was low. And every time I would look back there, I had about maybe 80-90% in there. So I'm like, what's going on? Come to find out, other people had had that issue. What is that issue? The kit doesn't like anything over 50-50. The reader that's inside of the tank, it's fuel sending, it was a meth level sending unit. So what that does is it does not read at all if you go over that 60-40 or 50-50 mixture, which could be an issue. You could be thinking that you have low amounts, making you think, oh, maybe I shouldn't get on the car, or I should take it easy, when you have a bunch in there. So how do you fix this? I saw a bunch of things online saying that throw a little, like a pinch of salt in there. And I said, salt? That's kind of weird. Guess what? I threw some salt in there and it was fine. We were good to go. I haven't had it blinking since. So that was kind of weird, but hey, if it works, it works. But other than that, what other problems have I had? I've also had issues with the lines kinking. So in the engine bay, I have the nylon hoses that it comes with. The issue is those lines can sometimes get kinked. I have it ran all the way under the car, and then it comes back up and then goes around in the front. Now, where it goes around one of the pipes, one of the intake pipes, the nozzle is there inside of this sensor or the sending unit that goes directly into my cold pipe. It was kinked right there going around, so I wasn't getting the full amount that I actually needed. So I noticed a lot of those times my actual 160 to 130 times were hurting, and I'm like, wow, why am I still like high 11 seconds? Why am I 12 seconds? This car should be in the low 10s. That makes no sense. So as I looked at my EK1, and it showed me that my air to fuel ratio was slightly off. Now the car is automatically going to try to correct this, but it just wasn't running the right amount of timing either. So as I did some digging, the line was kinked like that. So I ended up fixing it. I put a little bit more line on there, and we're good to go. So you always got to check everything, make sure all your lines aren't kinked or everything's just smooth sailing. But all in all, can I recommend this kit? Absolutely. This is a great starter kit. Now, I may upgrade to a different kit that goes based on throttle. This goes based on what your boost is. So I noticed this was causing an issue with my car fuel cutting. The reason why is because the car was getting too much fuel. What happens is, because I'm at 8 PSI or say 15, if I went full throttle at a lower RPM, say like 3,000 RPM, guess what? That isn't where my car makes its power at. And it makes just a glob of torque down there. So if it's throwing all this fuel at it, it's going to make a fuel cut, because the car is like, hey, I'm making too much, this is dangerous. So I think I'm going to have it based off of throttle response. If I'm 100% throttle, then it'll start to give some. But for the price, you cannot be mad. These kits are relatively easy to install. I've never installed a meth kit before in my life, never done anything like this, and it took me about an hour to 2 hours. The hardest part was just trying to figure out where I was going to mount the tank at, and it was a small 1 gallon tank. And that honestly took me, I would say, upwards of an hour. After that, the lines are really self-explanatory, really easy, and the electrical is really, really easy. At first, I saw all those wires, and I'm like, wow, this is a little scary. It could be, but don't get intimidated. Just read what you're doing, find out what you're doing. The hardest part is going to be trying to figure out where you get your second power source. Not the one from the battery, but there should be a yellow wire. You're going to tap into your fuse box and figure out what accessory you want to use. That comes on only when the car is on and not when the car is off. So other than that, I do recommend the kit. It's a great kit. It does have its flaws, but everything has its flaws. That's the way life is. And I can recommend this. So far, it's been helping this car run as great as possible. Shout out to N75. He's the one who recommended me to getting meth. I've never ran meth in any car I've ever had. I've owned about 30 cars and never ran meth in any of them. And this was my first time, and this is still a very pleasant experience. And I would recommend meth to anybody who's boosted. I mean, hell, even if you're not boosted, it probably could help. But check if other people have meth in the type of car that you have, and if they do, go for it. This is great. Like, the extra timing is great. The extra amount of boost that you're able to get is great. So all in all, I'm going to give this kit an 8 out of 10, being that it should come with everything you need. If you don't use a filter in the solenoid, things can go wrong. It can. But other than that, they did revise their nozzle, but I think it just needs just a little bit better revision on the nozzle. But I recommend it. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time. 2% driver KG, and right now we are a little stuck. I'm not sure what happened. I came out of establishment, tried to get up to speed, and then all of a sudden the car just started acting weird. So I think